has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michele Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 269, The Vision Thing. Back to your vegan future. Hey kids, it's Michele. You know, some of my clients have goals for these last weeks of 2025, and probably many of you do too, because this episode is coming out on October 28th. It's the last podcast in October. So, you know, I would guess most of us have a busy November and December ahead of us, and I think that's about 9 weeks to the new year if you're listening when this comes out. So if you're starting to think that your future is going to look a lot like your past, just with some additional regret or denial or excuses, it might be time to talk about the vision thing. The vision thing. If you're one of my Boomer or Gen X listeners, you might remember the vision thing. Or if you're a political science nerd, the vision thing was a phrase that got famous back in the late 1980s when George H.W. Bush was running for president. A reporter asked what his big plan was for the country, and he said kind of offhandedly that he needed to work on the vision thing. And people made fun of that line, and it still comes up from time to time. They said Bush was very capable and practical and with tremendous experience, but he didn't have a big, inspiring picture of where he wanted to lead the country. And something his predecessor, Ronald Reagan, had been quite talented at in his communication style. And many people thought his successor, Bill Clinton, was better able to create the vision thing for the voters. But anyway, ever since the vision thing has been shorthand for, being very capable, knowing what you're doing, but missing some sort of compelling direction or an organizing principle. And especially if you're one of my listeners in midlife, you do know how to do a lot. You are very capable and experienced, and your past choices have gotten you and the people who rely on you very far. And you deserve to be proud of that. And we can all tend to think that the next things that we want to achieve, what comes next in terms of creating or change, that it's just going to organically flow, or that it should just evolve from what we've done in the past. And that is true. But also what organically flows from the past are the things that are not about change or achievement or new creations. So if there is a change, a goal, a transition, a new lifestyle that is not developing the way you thought it could or should or would, maybe there's an area where you are stuck. And it might simply be the vision thing. Because it matters. It matters in politics, in business, and in life, in academics. It's especially important when you're trying to break through some sort of plateau, whether it's personal or financial or cultural or even generational. It's fairly easy, maybe easier to change when there's been a big problem. The idea of people taking certain issues much more seriously when they hit a sort of rock bottom. But when things are going pretty well, it can be hard. Even the most practical, the most dollars and cents oriented companies have a vision, or a mission statement, because vision gives them direction. It doesn't just rely on just keep doing what you're doing. It tells the organization, it tells your brain, it tells your heart where you are heading in a true north. It's not just a checklist of what you're doing or what you have been doing. So I am a practical person. I love a checklist. I love a tracker and a plan. And I've learned that when I have a vision, something that I can't yet measure or prove, my life starts to lean towards it. But only if I keep reorienting myself towards it, and only if I don't judge myself too harshly about not being there yet. But the vision thing really can change your trajectory. It's not magic, but it is a matter of mindset and attention and energy, all kind of working together. They say almost everything we think today is the same thing that we thought yesterday. You know, sometimes they throw the number around. 95% of the thoughts we think today are the same as yesterday's. And that's almost everything, right? So unless we have a practice of intentionally setting a new direction on purpose, our brains will happily keep reapplying, recycling the old story to the future. So that's why vision, the vision thing, it isn't woo, it isn't fluff, it isn't unserious, it is real focus. And especially for those of us who have lived a bit and we have made a lot of things work, you know, we've done what we've done by creating some sort of a winning strategy. And that winning strategy, you know, it's the choices, the interactions, the habits, the thoughts that get us through the day and get everyone fed and get the taxes paid and the car running and the relationships smoothed over and keep us looking presentable and a dentist scheduled. That winning strategy got me here today, that got you here today. And it's good. We are to be congratulated. We are. But if you have an interest in your heart of getting there, the winning strategy is not likely to get us there. What got us here may not get us there. So if I want to create something new, if I want to transform my health or my fitness, or even update my clothes or grooming, because right now, as I'm recording this, I'm looking at very messy, broken fingernails. And I'm thinking it would be nice to include something not just black in my wardrobe. So if I want to make changes, if I want to go places I've never been, or eat in a way I never have, or start being more active in my community or my local government, if I want to go back for an additional degree or a new certification or build a strength training regimen, whatever it is, all those things that are not happening right now with my winning strategy, well, I can hope that they will organically just evolve. But the truth is, they probably won't. New things probably won't, because the things that aren't happening that we do want, the areas that we are stuck in, where we need motivation and structure and energy, we need that from the future. And our current winning strategy is all about what we figured out in the past and we have dialed in now in the present. So our winning strategy, your winning strategy, the pattern that once helped us succeed, that got us here today, the choices and thoughts and energy that did get us where we are eventually keep us stuck. And a lot of those accommodations in our winning strategy are about getting along in the world that we were born into or raised in, and they seemed to keep us safe. Things like getting along, going along, not asking for too much, keeping our heads down, not looking for trouble, not looking for ways to be singled out or judged or rejected or made fun of, or not looking for ways to seem different or seem like we are the ones rejecting the people we grew up with or live with. And does any of that sound familiar? All those shoulds, like I should just eat what my family eats. I should be flexible so I don't make other people uncomfortable. I shouldn't be that high maintenance person. I should just be grateful that I'm doing as well as I'm doing. I should age gracefully. You know that one bugs me, right? I should have figured this out by now. That's a good one. And we have talked about it so many times, the shoulds, those shoulds that shape our habits, and they have helped us create a winning strategy. And that pattern that once helped us fit in or succeed or feel valued or loved or important, those choices and thoughts and energy, yes, they did get us where we are, and we should be proud of that. But eventually, it can keep us stuck. So maybe your winning strategy has always been, well, mine was for a long time, don't make waves. Don't make a big issue out of everything. And that worked fine until it didn't. Or another winning strategy a lot of us have is just to be grateful. Be grateful for what we have. Why do you always have to think about more or different or change? Or maybe your winning strategy has been to prioritize your family or your community or your friend group, because at some point we need to think that maybe not making waves, being grateful, and prioritizing others might mean that we're not growing ourselves. Now, in the area of business, there's an author who's written a lot about this concept, Tracy Goss. And she talks about moving from our winning strategy. She's usually talking about people in business, but that winning strategy needs to change into the reinvention paradigm. It's a lot of words and it's for business owners, but it's where we stop living from the shoulds and we start inventing our life from a future vision. And I think it's an interesting, helpful concept no matter where you're stuck or plateaued, whether this is business or your creative pursuits or academics or personal growth in any area. But you know, here at Veg Your Best, we are usually seeing how different ideas translate to your vegan or your plant-based journey. Because as you know, how you go vegan is how you do everything in this life. So if you're thinking about limiting or eliminating the consumption of animal products, step one could be to uncover your winning strategy with food. Notice how you've been dealing and functioning well in the area of food so far. How have you been making things work so far? Maybe it's by being easygoing. Maybe it's by eating what others like. Maybe it's by being a foodie and thinking about food as entertainment. Maybe it's thinking that you can't really make a food changes without others supporting you or being on board or making the same changes along with you, because food for you is everyone else too. And that strategy worked until you had an idea and it started holding you back. So step two is to question some of the shoulds. The biggest barrier to change, on a plant-based journey, the biggest barrier isn't bacon or blue cheese. It's belief. It's your thoughts. We want to question the ideas that food should look a certain way, or that being normal means eating animals, or that changes are difficult, or that it's too late for you at your age. We want to ask, who told us that? Whose voice says that in our heads? Is it really my voice? So we question what seems like a should regarding our foods. And then step three, you're going to risk some comfort for the possibility of a different future, because change always feels risky. You might have an awkward dinner conversation. You might have a moment of doubt. You might not really know what choice to make. You might not know how to explain yourself to a host at a business dinner or to a waiter in a restaurant. But that little edge of discomfort, honest to God, that's where the new version of you is being born. And step 4, you start to declare a new vision. That's where the vision thing comes alive. You get to make a declaration, maybe even a bold declaration. Not necessarily a goal with a timeline, but a statement of identity. I'm someone who makes compassionate food choices. I'm someone who knows how to make compassionate food choices delicious most of the time. I'm the plant-based matriarch in my family. I'm an example of living lightly on the planet. You can say it before it's fully true. And then you start living from it. Now, one thing we talk about in coaching is to invent an impossible game. And that's a lot to go into. Maybe we'll talk about it another time. But I think just briefly, to invent an impossible game, that means to play bigger than feels comfortable, to try to do something like in any game, if you're playing bridge or golf or Wordle, you try to do something you haven't been able to do before. You just try it. What's the worst that can happen is you can't do it the way you thought you might be able to do, at least not right away. Maybe you try 1 month completely plant-based, or maybe you just try one meal, or a meal in front of other people who are not vegan or plant-based. Or maybe you host a vegan dinner party where no one misses the meat. Maybe that's your goal. Or maybe you just think of all of this as an experiment, not a test. Impossible games make life creative again. Because what could you do if you didn't expect yourself to be perfect at it? Your mind will jump in with so many reasons that this can't work, it's not the right time, you'll miss the cheese, you don't know how to get protein, you don't have time to meet with a nutritionist, your family won't go for it, you've already tried it before. I know. I had all the same stories. And they're just old stories, and notice them. They're one of those 95% thoughts that just keep going into your brain. You get to notice them and smile and let them float by, because they are data. They're not untrue, but they're yesterday's data. And we're not going to run tomorrow's program with yesterday's data inputs. It's optional. So, one of the things we talk about is start acting as the person you've declared yourself to be. You get to make small promises. You get to make little plans, to be kind to yourself, to share your wins, and keep some of your promises to yourself, or notice what promises you were unable to keep. That's how a new strategy, a new paradigm becomes real. That's how you get back to your future. And remember, it doesn't have to work perfectly to actually be working. Now, this isn't just about food, right? This is about designing any new operating system in your life, one that runs on purpose, intentionally, instead of running on the approval that people have given you all along in the past. When you reinvent yourself, you quietly give permission. And this might be the most valuable part of it, in my view. You quietly give permission for others to do the same. Your family, your friends, your kids, your grandkids. That's how cultural change happens, when one person can imagine something and starts walking towards it, and other people start to believe. In my view, that is the real vegan vision thing. And it's even very perfectly fleshed out, it makes a big change. So this week, if you want to take a listener challenge, some of you like the homework, write 2 short statements. Your default future, number 1, your default future. What happens if you really don't change anything? Or if you just expect change to just kind of evolve? And number 2, maybe scribble out a few sentences about an invented vegan future, who you could become on purpose. And read them out. Read them out loud every day. One will feel maybe a little heavier to you. Maybe the other will feel alive. And just keep thinking about the one that feels more compelling to you. I'm not telling you what you need to do. So remember, your brain is going to keep thinking 95% of yesterday's thoughts unless you interrupt it. And of course you can interrupt it, but you need to make an intentional choice. Interrupt it. Give yourself a little bit of a new story. And you know the old Michael J. Fox movie, Back to the Future? I know. It's an old one. But at the end of the 3rd Back to the Future, Doc, the mad scientist character, sees a piece of paper that had been written in the past, and the paper has become blank. There's nothing written on it any longer. And Doc explains the erased message is a really good sign. It means, he says, it means your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one. Isn't that such a great image? What if instead of thinking that our future has to make all kinds of sense based on our past, what if we, instead of thinking that we have to make our past or the winning strategy that we have cobbled together successfully here and now, what if the future did not have to evolve organically out of who we've been and what we've done? What if we thought we could just envision something that matters to us and then keep moving bit by bit in that direction and not make ourselves wrong for not being there quite yet? Because the future doesn't need you to have it dialed in perfectly. It just needs you to veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.